the SME and so on can actually have money and affordable money for their businesses and so on. How can we ensure that in the region, prices are affordable and our production is affordable? None of them is dealing with these issues, and that's very sad.
So how do we sieve the noise at the end of the day? Because politics, I mean, politicians will politic at the end of the day. And speaking of politics, I'm looking at the front page, Daktari, and I'm seeing, will Kagwe tilt the scale in State House race? So apparently there might be a new entrant come 2022. As you add your voice to this, people perhaps perceived there won't be a presidential contender from the mountain. So on the bigger question, will the mountain, or if the mountain does push a presidential candidate, does it complicate the matrix as it is? Because we can't leave politics to politicians just. We have to give our take into this, yeah?
Well, I think in the event Kagwe gets in, there will be a bit of complications in terms of how the other presidential candidates will handle the situation. Of course, at this point in time, there is obviously a struggle to get a bit of the Mount Kenya rich voters, voting region, because ordinarily it has been that once there is a presidential candidate from there, he may sweep the votes, but that's not necessarily the case. If you look at the voting pattern of the Mount Kenya region 1992, the votes were split between Matiba and Kibaki. Come 1997, the nature of voting was split when Matiba did not stand, but Ngilu came in and picked a bit of votes for her party and the others, and others went to President Moi Kibaki at that point. So it's not a question of being guaranteed that if Kagwe now stands there, he is going to run off with all the votes in that region. It's going to be a little bit complicated, and there is no clear cut because I think the region is sitting and watching. They have their own views about the candidature of the Deputy President Ruto. They have their own views about that. They have their own views about the candidature of Raila Odinga, the candidature of Mudavadi and all that. So it may not really complicate the voting pattern or whatever each of those candidates will be able to get, but we want to listen what he will come up with. If he comes up with something that is interesting, then there could be an issue here. But my own view is there is nothing new that Mr. Kagwe is going to come up with. All these leaders have been with us for decades. Right. Kalonzo Musyoka, 1985. Mudavadi, 1989. He got into the national politics.
Yeah, quite young.
Right. Exactly. And we expect that at that age, he will be able to be vibrant and make many changes. I don't see any changes he did when he was the Minister for Marketing. I don't have any recollection on any change he did when he was the Minister for Transport. I cannot trace anything that he did when he was the Minister for Finance and also Vice President. So they are simply talking the same thing. The Deputy President entered politics in 1992 under YK 92. Okay. An outfit that really destroyed the economy of this country, if you remember, with the dishing out of the 500 shillings and all that. Now, he's an old leader in this country. That's the same thing with Raila Odinga. Of course, there was a struggle in the 1980s, but he entered into public domain, into the national politics in 1992. So, Mr. Kagwe coming in, he's all the same like those other candidates. They are going to talk the same language. I don't expect any big change or any big vision that is going to give us. And that will be the same in the delivery aspect. Now, allow me to just go back a little bit in terms of, please. The way we are seeing elections being approached this time round and the unpreparedness mirrors things across our leadership or our governance domain. You go to the health sector, it is in chaos, right? You go to the education, we are told 100% transition. When parents take their children to school, the following day they are sent home to go and bring fees. I just came from Bungoma, which is my county where I was born and lived, and we were having meetings, and the chief said, if you don't take your child to school, we are coming to take action. Okay, parents took children.
Fine, yeah.
The following day, when I was driving in the county, I met hundreds of students in Form 1 sent away. It's a contradiction. And therefore what we are seeing in the electoral body mirrors things across all other sectors.
All right.
And I do not know when we shall be able to overcome some of these things. We become well prepared in virtually everything. And it is not that we cannot be well prepared. There appears to be a situation in this country where leaders take advantage of chaotic situations.
Correct.
And get advantage out of it. And they would want to see that chaotism remaining,
okay,
so that they can be able to justify one or two things.
Okay, okay. So Kyoko, I mean, at times we fail to plan as a country, but politicians seem to be planning come 2022, especially when it comes to regions. We've seen Northeastern sort of get their act in order. There might be 3 factions or so, but they're talking of unity in purpose, sort of a similar narrative that we've seen in Central Kenya, unity in purpose in terms of those parties coming together and bring in what they'll want in terms of the negotiating issues. Coast region as well, the Western region as well. Well, what say you about the country and the state of preparedness in terms of politics? Will we walk away from the regionalization, all that balkanization, issue-based politics that we're so often talking about right here? Will this inform the voting trends come 2022?
Before I answer that, I need that question you asked about Mutai.
Yeah.
Will it
Oh, sure. Yeah.
the thing that comes to my mind is this statement. I've been listening and it just keeps popping up.
Yeah.
Desperate times calls for desperate measures. Yeah? Today, in a sitting government where the Constitution says, as a public service, do not engage in politics, the Minister of Finance has formed a regional party for his people.
Yes.
And that's a Minister of Finance.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah? The internal CS, internal affairs CS, he's meeting his tribesmen to launch a party.
We hear.
We hear. Yeah? Now, the Minister of Health is acquiring a political party wanting to join into 3 ministers. Really? Here is a typical question of a knee-jerk thing. We don't know what to do. We've tried. Anybody within this government who has a semblance of clout, irrespective of what it is, grant to your place. Now, I've not been a member of Jubilee. Neither have I been a member of ODM. But when Jubilee, TNA, and URP came together and said, let us build big political parties so that people can join in. We do not go regional. I thought it was a good vision. The party of ODM has maintained a semblance of order beyond the regional backyard of its party leader, Raila Odinga. That's why when you go to Kisii, they feel accommodated in ODM. When you go to Coast, they feel accommodated in ODM. So that you have a big party called ODM, in truthfulness. Other people are trying. Kalonzo Musyoka is trying, but he's failed to go beyond Kampala. Musalia Mudavadi has tried, but he's failed to go beyond. So you can see people are trying to go beyond their regions into bigger outfits. Then come this election, you find people being told, no, go back to your regional self. Go back, become the head, create a Coast party, create a Northeastern party, create a comeback party, create a Kisii party. Right now, because of this poorly planned succession matrix, people are being balkanized into tribal entities that I believe the young people of this country do not subscribe to. It is politics being played by the older, our generation of people who first view each other from your name. When you tell them, my name is Jesse, they say, no, you can't be called Jesse Rogers. Give us the other name. Because your African name.
What are
because we want to clone you. We want to fix you.
Yes.
Yeah? What's your name? I can't say I'm called Joseph. I'll start with, my name is Kyoko.
Yeah.
Because I trust my name. I mean, I'm proud of being called Kyoko.
Okay.
You know, but when I say that, I remember, oh, I'm a Kamba. I'm from Kaiti. So, you know, the younger generation of people is trying to move away from that identity politics, which is mature in itself. It's an attempt. The older generation of politicians is forcing us into identity politics, regional politics. I don't think it is fair for this country. There was that opportunity with Jubilee, which I believe President Uhuru has shattered. I think Raila Odinga's ODM and the NASA thing should have done better to stay together so that people see it does not matter who is the head of state. It must not matter that the head of state is a Kamba or is a Luya. What matters is that the head of state in this country is a person of integrity and is a person who means well for this country. Devolution came about to address the question of concentration of resources at the center. If today we empower our counties, increase the allocation to the counties, it means our focus moves away from Nairobi, from the 85% into the counties. And the counties will act over time as an equalization factor. But for as long as we have this amount of huge money, 85% remaining at the center, then it brings this negative competitive politics that has this winner-take-all approach. But what President Uhuru, and we must lay this blame squarely, Mwai Kibaki delivered a new constitution. And he did that in 2010 and encouraged people to believe in the ideals of that new constitution. Uhuru Kenyatta had the opportunity to midwife it and ensure people lived within the realm of a new constitution and aspirations that were captured in the new constitution. He has failed. He's returning us to those eras of ethnic-based political parties. Then it will go to the universities. There you will start hearing Nairobi University has a Kamba Makueni chapter. Nairobi University has a Kitui chapter, has a Nyanza chapter. You know, that is the effect of this thing, because they want to use those chapters to negotiate power with the political parties. And that is the hurtful, that's the big mistake that President Uhuru Kenyatta is doing. So this politics of identity, vis-a-vis issue, it is a balance. When people do not want to address issues, they naturally default into their comfort zone. What is my comfort zone? Speaking in Kikamba. And that is the death of our politics.
You brought up the devolution aspect, and I think it all equally opens up a can of worms, because where will these second-term governors go at the end of the day? And I think that's why there's so much clamor on positions right now, and smaller parties, regional parties, and having a say in terms of this particular region. Add your voice to this, Prof.
Yeah, I think I'd agree 100% with Kyoko here that, you know, part of the problem that we have is this personality cult and identity politics, tribal politics. Then, you know, and you can cascade that to ridiculous levels. Instead of thinking devolution now, you start thinking your clan. And then you start thinking your family. And you start thinking all these things. Yet we've had a chance to build institutions. The cure for all these things that we're talking about are strong and stable institutions. And unfortunately, Uhuru has been very bad at that. And even where we've had opportunities, and I'm going back to Kyoko's point there, even where we had opportunities in say, the TNA, to build a national institution that you can go to as a young person who wants to get into politics, do party work, rise through the positions. I would not bother whether I'm an MCA or a governor, whatever it is, because there's this big institution that has different roles for different people. And if you build strong and stable institutions, our neighbors Tanzania have exactly done it. We don't even need to look at the US. The US is also a very good example, where if you want to get into politics, there'll be something for you to do. You'll be told, yes, Alfred, work with the governor of Kitui this time round, understanding him. Or, you know, you're going to be chief of staff for this particular place. Yeah, because currently we think we actually have a very good candidate for governor in this and that place. Right. Yes, you are leaving your position as governor, but in fact we have a role for you as Attorney General. We have a role for you within national politics and so on. And it doesn't matter whether you are in power or out of power, because when you're out of power, you are actually working with the party to take over power. And when you're in power, you, of course, are involved in governance. But you see, what you've done is to systematically personalize institutions and systematically kill them. What happens now is that when you are out of office, you become very vulnerable because there's nothing else you can do. It doesn't matter whether your party is ruling or not. And I've seen this even at most ridiculous levels. We've had people who refuse to leave you know, as governors of schools. Yeah, even at those small levels. Because this guy doesn't know what he's going to do next. He doesn't trust that there's a young person who can come in and take that particular position. He's not nurturing that particular individual. As well, yeah. And this is, we can say the same thing in business. Of course, in government is the worst, yeah. Where I'm either in position or I'm in position. So I'm going to kill to actually get into that position. I would not say that, look here, guys, I have a family situation for these 5 years, so I will be working from the secretariat. I don't want to be a member of parliament within these 5 years. I don't want to be an MC. Because if it's gone, it's gone. So we need to go back and build institutions. What will stabilize this country is a strong institutions, and starting with political institutions. Those are our weakest. Okay. You see, even in the universities, people create positions that don't exist. Kiama's just done it at the University of Nairobi the other day. Uhuru has his cast. You wonder, where is this cast coming from? We have a constitution that says the positions that that should be there in the executive. And you spend all the time fighting in courts because we are doing the wrong thing. This is what we must. Our politicians must shift their mindset and know that building institutions is good for them. It's also good for us as a country. As well.
So much to talk about, so little time. Before you give us your take, I just want to take a look at some of the issues to do with succession politics right now. And our very own Murimi Mwangi, who prepares an edition called House of Kurds, just interrogated the succession politics this particular week. And perhaps taking a look at what Anne Waiguru, the Kirinyaga governor, had to say just last week, hinting that she could shift allegiance to the Deputy President William Ruto's camp, citing pressure from her electorates. Waiguru is only the latest of President Uhuru Kenyatta's allies to dump him for his rival deputy's camp. But is the president just losing grip of his political camp, or is it a case of poor strategy managing his succession? Murimi Mwangi interrogates. Take a look.
If the infamous love-hate phrase had a picture to it, then the history of Deputy President William Ruto's political association with Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru would perhaps make the best illustration.
Kiingereza mingi wanafanyia catwalk hapa around, na ni wazi pesa ya umma imepotea. Mwenye hiyo pesa anasema aliweka kwa gunia. Sasa jameni, kweli dunia hii.
That statement was at the peak of the 791 million shilling scandal at the National Youth Service after Ruto's several previous defenses of Waiguru, who at the time as Devolution Cabinet Secretary, was caught up in the scam that eventually cost her plum job. The two, however, eventually made up after Ruto's 2017 re-election alongside President Uhuru Kenyatta, when Waiguru also won her county seat, but soon fell out after the Kirinyaga governor drifted to the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga camp. But turns out it was not to be for long.
Munataka nikuje na chama gani huku Kirinyaga? Nikuje na chama gani huku Kirinyaga? Nikikuja na hiyo chama mutanirudisha? Wangapi watanirudisha kwa kiti ya 2022?
Yet Waiguru's move, touted as just the precursor to the exit of more Kenyatta Mount Kenya allies into Ruto's fold, poses a major headache to his recent efforts to manage his succession over what some analysts now interpret as the head of state losing political grip of his home turf and increasingly entering the lame duck phase of his presidency, traditionally marked by perceived defiance of the president on his final days in power by key political and state operatives.
There are those who know very clearly that they are unpopular, but they want to blame it on the party. And they want to seek solace, in saying that now I've moved my royalty to this one to see whether I can salvage. We want to tell them, if you have not performed on the ground, no matter which party you go to, you will not be elected.
Akina kanini kiaka huko hapa. Mwache kudanganya Uhuru, ground ni mbaya na raia wanaumia. Wanaumia, hiyo ndio kweli. Raia wanaumia. Nasema hivyo kwa sababu iko mabroka, ukipigiwa simu na Uhuru na Zurura ukiambia watu niliongea na Uhuru jana usiku, kama mliongea mbona utamwambia mafuta imepanda bei na gas?
It is not unusual. It happens all the time. That when a politician sees that his or her side is losing, you jump on the winning side, and then if you can, then make it appear as if you are the one who helped in the winning, that sort of thing. So that is going on.
I'm calling it unity of purpose, and I have seen it with some people. And I can say here, I admire the people of Northeastern. Whenever there is an issue that affects their community, they come together, irrespective of the political formation. That's what I expect Central to do.
Kenyatta has been working overtime to unite Odinga with the One Kenya Alliance, who key co-principals Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka and Gideon Moi all eye the presidency, a game plan that has fallen into headwinds of alleged disconnect between senior state technocrats and pro-Kenyatta politicians on how best to handle the succession, with a number of Kenyatta allies decrying lack of facilitation and poor strategy in the president's political axis. Already, such Mount Kenya leaders as Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Iria and longtime Kenyatta ally, National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi, have launched separate presidential campaigns. The confusion on Kenyatta's mountain backyard and fears of further defections from his camp, complicating matters even for Odinga, who had for a while appeared as Kenyatta's favorite to succeed him.
Raila was elected. The election was taken away from him. That is the fact. So what we want now is the so-called deep state being talked about is to keep off from people's elections and let the people elect the person they really like.
This election that is coming will be on issues. And William Ruto has captured the imagination of the hustlers nation and they are 90% of this country. And this is a big wave that somebody today is talking about the lowly people, the people down there. Even talking about them is good enough, even before you do anything.
President Uhuru hataki kiti, mtu anataka kiti ni Ruto na Raila. Wao ndio wafanye handshake na isimamiwe na President Uhuru na kuwe shahidi.
A rebrand of the Jubilee Party, which the Secretariat had indicated was to be rolled out over a month ago, is yet to take off, with no word yet on the status of Jubilee's plan to form a coalition with the Odinga-led ODM party. A state of affairs likely to get even more complicated as all top anti-Ruto presidential hopefuls roll out solo campaigns. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News.
Well, it's truly a house of cards, and I'm tempted to say it's not just survival for the fittest, but for the swiftest. The first one who shifts camps the easiest. So, Daktari, you've seen the picture has been painted by Murimi Mwangi, perhaps bouncing off from what the Kirinyaga governor just said recently in terms of asking the people, mtanikubali nikikuja na hii chama. You see, so at times these politicians are informed by what is on the ground, or that's what we believe. What say you about we were just talking about institutions, fidelity and all that, this narrative of shifting camps so I can actually survive. What say you about that? Does it actually show the good things about democracy?
I think that's the unfortunate thing that we have in this country, where we have leaders that are not principled. I think after observing many leaders for a long time, I have always been frustrated these days to listen to any one of them. Because today they stand on this, tomorrow they are standing on something else. And leaders who behave in that way can't build institutions, because how do you build an institution when you are changing your mind at all times? And you are not changing your mind because the new area you are shifting to has a better perspective or a better stand or a policy on issues. It is simply for your own survival. And I think we are setting a very bad precedence to the younger generation that, where you know you will benefit, get there, rather than standing on ideology, standing on principles. I've always said if I had a chance to establish a party in this country, I would establish a party that will live for the next 200, 300 years.
Okay, correct.
Standing on principles.
Correct.
Because a country, the party will be based on an ideology. It will have a clear program of doing things. And at the same time, I will be seeking to establish a party that will have strong roots across the country and live for years. Because countries that do not have strong political parties, like Kenya, will always be vulnerable and subject to vulnerabilities of political violence and all that. Look at the countries that have strong political parties. In the US, for example, Republican are called GOP, the Grand Old Party, right? The Republican Party, the Democratic Party, and the Conservative Party in England are 100 plus years old. We don't have, I do not see any party or any leader having that long-range perspective. The issue in Kenya is establishing a political party, as we have discussed here, to represent a region, but more so an individual.
Special purpose vehicle.
Special purpose vehicle.
Yeah.
To propel a candidate for today's elections. Whatever happens in the next election, it will cater for itself.
Okay.
And for the president, their vision is to serve their 2 terms, to have these political parties that will take them for the 2 terms. And once the 2 terms are gone, they are gone.
That's it.
And to hell with the political parties, however they will be. Now, that is not building democracy, that's not building a strong nation.
Okay.
So political parties are very critical. And when you have individuals shifting from Jubilee today to UDA tomorrow, to URP, to TNA, to ODM and all this, it doesn't project well for the country.
All right.
And I think this country needs new minds that will say, we are establishing this party for the long term.
Okay. And stick by it due to its ideologies. So Kyoko, perhaps as you add your voice to that, institution fidelity or infidelity, let's talk about succession and managing this succession. That piece sort of questioned if Uhuru is sort of losing grip in managing his succession. Do you believe it's of interest to the president to manage his succession? He's going out, no interest in the political realm going into 2022, but we've had talks of deep state, perhaps the Nyandarua governor most recently highlighting that it's there and it's quite deep. So when it comes to managing and facilitation and strategy on all this, what influence does this so-called deep state have?
I think first and foremost is to appreciate that as a symbol of national unity, the president has 100% stake, 150% stake in ensuring that there's a smooth transition. Now, there are very many facets of the smooth transition. One is the IEBC properly funded. Is the electoral system fair to all actors? Will the 1 vote be equivalent to 1 vote?
Okay.
Is the judiciary ready to take up on the electoral dispute after the pronouncement of leaders? Will the country's stability hold? I think there are very many aspects of the succession that the president has a 110% role to play. However, there is one aspect that as he gets into this period that we are moving in, he is best advised to stay away from. The ability or the requirement for him to pinpoint his successor is not something within his ally or on the succession matrix. That's not his cup of tea. Whoever will come and will be elected as president will be the president of all Kenyans, including him as a president. He cannot afford to take sides in this contest of Ruto Raila, Ruto Kalonzo, Ruto Mudavadi matrix. He cannot afford to side because all this, by and large, are his children. Whoever inherits, succeeds him, will serve all Kenyans in equal capacity. Right. We have a president retirement benefit package, which is passed by law, which is not subject to whimsical. The next president saying, no, I will prosecute you as a former president because you did not support me. No. We have a good retirement package for retiring or exiting president. Okay. So he should not worry about that. It is of least concern to him who becomes the president next year. He might have his personal preference, but those are his personal preference. He should not pronounce them. He should sit back, allow. He saw the consequences of what President Moi did. Yeah. He saw the attempt by Kibaki on imposing Mudavadi and what it did that generated it. So, and Kenyans don't like projects. So it is best for him to allow politics to be played by those who want to succeed him. Him is going on his sunset years, the others who arise. He needs to appreciate that. Right. In terms of the confusion happening in his backyard, of course he's worried. President Uhuru is a young man by all standards. And of course he's worried if he lives longer, 30 years, to see if kutakuwa na madharau kidogo kidogo in his backyard. Of course that one he is. And you must fault some of these people who are close to him. I remember in Bomas too, there was a statement that was issued by the lady governor of Kirinyaga that you can rent, but you can't buy. And it was broadly statement, and it appeared like a statement of fact. It is shocking that now she wants to be rented, or is it now she wants to be bought? Either or. You know, then you go back, you go back, you can pick on people who have had audiences with the president, who I believe the president took their wording to be true. That whatever you want to do, we support it, we will die for it. But today they're leaving the president. I think their failure is that they did not offer wise counsel to the president. They did not offer wise counsel to the president to tell him that the rain is beating us, we need to change tact and approach. That was never done. Those who did, like Senator Kangata, in that letter, were chopped off. So we must also look at these people that if given access to power next time, will they offer wise counsel to the incoming CEC, or will they act as opportunists? What you want us to tell you is what we will tell you. However, we know the ground is bad. Because it is very shocking. If I was seated where President Uhuru is seated, he must be totally shocked. This lady faced an impeachment. This lady was charged by first the Right Honorable Raila on NYS scandal. And the president had her back. On the current impeachment, the president had her back. It is now that the president is saying, I'm going to this succession, and I prefer this. And this lady runs. At the slightest indication of a scuffle, she runs and leaves the president high and dry. How many men or women who are on the president's side are going to do that? I think those are people who need to be isolated, because given an opportunity, they will lie to our CNC. And we cannot allow them proximity to power.
Prof, I'll let you have the footnotes into this particular conversation as we finalize everything we've mentioned, because a lot has been said. At the end of the day, we're seeing so many developments happening politically. It's the season of defections. I like terming it as musical chairs when it comes to politicians. They will shift bases, sort and sort. For our Kenyans seated back at home, and I like asking this question, how do you make an informed point of view? Because politicians will politic, they will come with strategies that will aim to achieving a certain purpose, be it power. But how do you come out of the noise and out of all that? How do you know this is meant to benefit me as a Kenyan, and despite the promises that haven't been delivered previously, this is the best bank I can actually place my bet on? How do we discertain this?
Yeah, before I answer the difficult question, let me just make a quick footnote again on the succession. If I would advise the president and anybody doing succession, be it at family level or business level and so on, the solution is the institution. Ensure the family is strong, and the family is every single person in the family. And they will actually find their leader. If you're running a school or a corporation, ensure you have enough good people. These good people will definitely find a leader. You destroy families by saying this is the preferred one. You destroy corporations by saying this is my preferred one and I don't care. Moi destroyed KANU by saying this is the one and I don't care. If our people realize that you build good institution and you have goodwill for your people and you have a good stock of the people, these people will actually agree amongst themselves on whom the best leaders are. Okay. And for the president, it doesn't really matter whether the leader comes from ODM or URP or whatever it is. All these are part of the institution that he must actually deal with. Now to your difficult question. We should actually have a very big prison, a very, very large prison, where we get politicians and lock them up and ensure that none of them ever gets out of that place. My counsel to Kenyans is very, very simple. Omenya will not change his colors today. I will not change my colors today. How I run my family, how I run my business, how I've been working with the local community, the things that I believe in, and so on, is eventually what will determine what I deliver.
All right.
As Kyoko put it, so eloquently, you are being chased everywhere for theft. And then Kenyans somehow believe that if they put you in position, you will not steal from them. It is stupid. And in fact, we are suffering our own stupidity. Of course, it's very, very difficult. We know they say qua ground thing.
Between indifference.
Between indifference. Yeah, but we'll only change this country when we stop electing thieves.
All right.
And start electing honest individuals, whether they're very rich or not.
Okay.
Some of the best leaders, sorry, my last little byline there is some of the best leaders any country has ever had on earth are also some of the people who are very modest financially. Look at Angela Merkel, look at Justin Trudeau, look at Obama, and some of the worst leaders, even for those countries, is the reverse. Look at Donald Trump.
That's right. I think that's a proper footnote. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your contributions. I think we're a reflection of the people we vote in terms of representation and all that. So it's proper to make